Hello and welcome back for another edition of Fisher Football Focus. I'm your host, James Bailey. The Cardinals were off last week on a bye. In their most recent game against Ithaca, Fisher suffered their first loss of the season. Coming back home to Grani Stadium rested, the Cardinals were looking to get back to their winning ways. That wouldn't be easy though. Their opponent Ithaca came into this game at 4-3, very much still in the Empire 8 hunt. The Cardinals and Bombers had a 99 all-time mark against each other heading into Saturday. Let's see who was able to break the tie. The Cardinals offense got off to a slow start, so the defense decided to lead off the scoring for them. With Ithaca up by a field goal, Chris Smith bursts into the Bomber backfield and sacks Wolfgang Schaefer for a safety. On the ensuing Fisher possession, a rejuvenated Cardinal offense would drive the length of the field. The long drive was capped by a 3-yard Tony Fusco touchdown run. Two-point conversion would make the score 10-3 Cardinals. After forcing an Ithaca punt, Matt Nathan throws a costly interception to the Bombers' Pat Minokwe to end the Fisher drive. Ithaca would take advantage, with Schaefer hitting Evan Ski on an 8-yard shovel pass to even the score at 10. The Fisher field goal just before halftime would give the Cardinals a 13-10 edge at the break. Near the end of the third, Nathan would further extend the Cardinal lead, hitting freshman Dylan Harrington for a 13-yard touchdown to make it 20-10. Ithaca kept pace though. Schaefer hits Brandon Balsamo on the first play of the fourth quarter for a 14-yard score to bring the Bombers back to within 3. Fisher punched back. On their first play of the next possession, Nathan airs it long and finds a crossing Will Kuhn, who would take it all the way, 73 yards to the house to again extend the Fisher lead. On the Bombers' next offensive play, they decided to bomb it themselves. Schaefer goes deep down the right sideline to Will Gladney, who would take it 67 yards to the end zone. However, a flag was thrown on the play. As you can try to decipher from this footage, you can see that Gladney clearly steps out of bounds before coming back in to make the catch. Illegal touching was called and the touchdown is negated. After another Bomber penalty stalls their drive, Ithaca lines up the punt and is blocked. Richard Ewell runs in the backfield untouched, blocks the punt, which is recovered in the end zone by David Carroll for a Fisher touchdown, making the score 34-17. Ithaca really needed to play perfect to get back into the game. Schaefer rolls out right and is picked off by sophomore DeMar Carroll, one of his 2 fourth-quarter interceptions. The Cardinals pulled out a 34-17 victory. Nathan and Kuhn provided Fisher's offensive firepower, while Nelson's 2 fourth-quarter interceptions put the game away. The win moved the Cardinals to 7-1 on the season and 5-1 in the Empire 8. Taking a look at the E8 standings, Alfred maintained their perfect record with a 30-28 victory over Brockport this past weekend. The Saxons have a tough matchup against Ithaca next Saturday before their much-anticipated matchup with the Cardinals on November 12th. Up next, head coach Paul Vosberg will be back again, so stay here.
Maybe he's really focused.
Maybe he likes spinning the wheels.
Maybe he just loves trucks.
Preoccupation with objects is one early sign of autism. Learn the others today.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined of course by head coach Paul Vosberg yet again, so happy to have you back on, Coach.
Thanks.
All right, so your offense started a little slow on Saturday, so when they do something like that, how does a big defense play like the safety help them kind of get going?
Well, I think anytime you get a play like that, it's not really a turnover. In fact, it should have been a touchdown. It was a fumble, but they didn't call it that way. But anyways, to get a big play like that, now it's a 3-2 ball game, and I think that got our offense going. We were going to get the ball back. We were going to get great field position and stuff. So no doubt in that it helped our offense get itself going and helped us on our way to a victory.
Yeah, and at the half, you guys found yourself in a 13-10 game, kind of a tough grinded out game. And as we mentioned on the show last week, that's kind of the type of game that's kind of playing Ithaca's game. So what did you guys kind of do? Obviously, you came out and put up bigger numbers in the second half, able to kind of pull away from Ithaca. What did you guys do a little differently in the second half to help you guys do that?
Not a lot. We just talked to them about staying in the game. We told them in the beginning this is going to be a 60-minute game. That's how Ithaca plays, and you just have to stay in there and keep grinding it out with them and minimize our mistakes. We felt we could hold them down defensively, and we thought we could move the football on them, which we could. And then our special teams came up real big. So all 3 aspects of our game really played well, especially in the second half. Played well enough to give us the lead in the first half, but in the second half played very well, making some big plays offensively, defensively, and special team-wise.
Yeah, and you mentioned special teams. So that kind of was really the big turning point in the game there early in the fourth quarter. So you guys come off, score that 73-yard Kuhn touchdown, and then Ithaca's first play after that, they complete a 67-yard touchdown. Gets called back for illegal touching. So instead of it being now a three-point game, it's back to a 10-point game. And then obviously a couple plays later they punt, you block the punt, score a touchdown off of that. So in a matter of a couple plays, it goes from it looking like it's a three-point game to being back up to a 3-score game, 17-point lead. So what can you run through kind of the emotions of your sideline through that whole process?
Well, in the beginning, truthfully, when they threw that ball, I was kind of upset that we let the kid behind us. But our corner, Alec Mortellero, said he saw the guy go out of bounds. So he knew he was no longer eligible receiver, and he saw the referee. He says, "Coach, I saw the referee put his cap down, and that's the indicator that he's out of bounds, he's out of play, so he cannot come back in on the play." So he said, "That's why I left him, and that's why he got so wide open, because he was ineligible at that time," which he was. I mean, there was no doubt.
Yeah.
You watch the film; he was
I agree.
he was out of play, and so when he came back in to catch the ball, it was, Alex knew it right off the bat. And again, you watch the film, and he's already pointing to the hat and where he went out of bounds and so on. But and then they got a penalty on themselves too. They lost control a little bit, and that pushed them back. And then Richie Ewell blocks the punt, and David Carroll recovers it in the end zone for a touchdown. That's a huge thing, and in making our extra point, that made a 3-score game. Now we went from a 2-score game, or if you thought he was scored the touchdown, 1-score game. It really boosted it up to 3 scores in the fourth quarter. The clock was definitely against them at that time.
Yeah, that's where you guys started to pull away. So obviously you've been here for a while, but Ithaca's coach Mike Welch has been at Ithaca for 22 years. He's retiring after this season. You guys have faced Ithaca. You've faced Coach Welch in Ithaca 19 times, and you guys have a slight advantage. You have the 10-9 advantage on Coach. So obviously, a lot of close games for you guys over the years. Is there any specific matchup against him that you really remember? Or?
No, probably the one I remember the most was when we finally beat them, because when we first started playing them, we weren't really at their caliber at that time. Our program was just trying to grow, and we might have lost like the first 6, or I forget how many we lost right in a row, and then we finally beat them at our house with a key interception and overtime game and so on and so forth. So that's probably the one that comes back the most, is the first time we were able to defeat Ithaca, because Ithaca has been a nationally ranked football team and a nationally known football team for years. I mean, when I played college football, they were the national champs and stuff like that. So I remember Ithaca Bombers from way back when I was a player myself, and so they had all this tradition. So we're excited that we got to play them, and that we were able to win, and now we do leave with a winning record against Coach Welsh.
Yeah, and with Coach Welsh leaving, you're kind of the elder statesman of the Empire 8 now. Do you think that gives you a little bit of an advantage, or is it tougher to keep up with the coaching changes and the team changes that have been throughout the conference the past few years?
Well, I've been in the Empire 8 longer than anybody, but Jerry Boyce is older than I am, and he's at Buff State, so he's got a few years on me too. So, but the conference is a great conference, and it became a great conference because of coaches like Coach Welsh and Coach Boyce, because they're outstanding coaches, and they've built outstanding programs, and I think our whole conference is that way, and there's just good coaches. And I've heard people say before that have gone into other conferences, one of the big differences in the Empire 8 versus some other conferences, the quality of coaching. And I think it's true when you have Mike Welch and Jerry Boyce and people like that coaching teams, and the coaches we have today in our conference. All the coaches in our conference do a great job.
And that's not downplay yourself and your own Fisher program that's been very successful for quite a while here now too.
Yeah, I've been very fortunate. I've got a great coaching staff, and they've been here for a long time with me, and they're doing a great job and allows us to compete.
All right, and some of what's led to that success has been your senior class this year. Obviously, senior day this upcoming weekend against Hartwick. You've been around a while, see a lot of senior days. Is there anything sort of different you see out of your seniors, knowing that they're going into their senior day, or just stay focused? They always know that the game ahead is the most important. That's
the biggest thing. Senior day is a great event. I think it's a great event, especially for the parents, because they get on the field and get introduced and so on and so forth with their sons, and that. I do worry about it at times being a distraction before the game, because athletes get into a routine before the game. I mean, athletes are superstitious and they're routine people. They like routines, and so it's a little bit different routine. But I'm sure our guys will handle it this weekend and be ready to play a really good Hartwick team.
Yeah, Hartwick. You guys just played Ithaca, who has a pretty staunch defense. Looking at Hardwick, it's kind of a different story. They allow on average 46 points per game, over 500 yards of total offense, and they have a 2-6 record right now. So, down towards the bottom of the Empire 8 standings. Is there kind of a potential advantage to playing a team like Hardwick that, obviously every team in the Empire 8 is tough, but compared to Alfred, who obviously you guys are still chasing in the Empire 8 standings, who has a tough game against Utica this upcoming weekend, do you think that kind of gives you a little bit of an advantage over Alfred that you're playing Hardwick and not Utica this upcoming weekend?
Well, I think you can't overlook Hardwick, because one thing they can do is they can score a lot of points, and they can score them very quickly. They've got a very good quarterback. They got two of the top receivers in the Empire 8, and they do put points up. And so you're hopeful that your offense will continue to play well to keep your defense on the boundary. We would like to be on the boundary a lot this week defensively, with our offense out there moving the ball up and down the field and so on, because they are a very good offense and they can explode at any time. They exploded against Buffalo State, and they put 34, I guess, on against Buffalo State this past weekend. And I saw a couple of plays. One's a 99-yard play and 73-yard play. That's explosive, and those are things you got to worry about in that. So we're going to have our hands full. You can't look at the record of any team in our conference, because every team in our conference is pretty good. In fact, not pretty good, really good. We keep saying it over and over again, but it's true. Anybody in this conference can beat anybody else, and it happens, and so on. So we better be ready for a really good Hardwick team this Saturday.
Yeah, and if you're going to look at the blueprint to really shutting down Hardwick, it'd probably be Alfred went out there and beat them 61-12. So obviously, Alfred's your adversary. You're playing them the following weekend, but you're going to take anything from what they did, really shutting down Alfred, to kind of put in your own game plan?
Well, I just hope that things happen like they did because that was a close game. And all of a sudden, a couple turnovers in a row, boom, and it got blown out of proportion. And that, we'd like to be able to run the ball as well as Alfred did against them in that, but that's Alfred offense and so on. So we'll look at the Alfred tape and see what they did that was very successful against them. But we look at all the tapes that way and see what other people were able to do and what they weren't able to do, and what Hardwick was able to do too against other people. So we're going to look at all that and then decide what's best for us, because we still need to continue to do what we do.
All right. Well, thank you again for coming back on, Coach. Get out there and beat Hardwick this upcoming week.
Thank you very much.
After the break, senior offensive lineman Austin Coleman and Jordan Schofield will be joining me, so don't move.
Hey, Hard, what's this?
That's my resignation.
You're resigning.
Why?
You've been putting me under a lot of pressure lately. That's why I'm ready to quit.
Oh, I forgot. I'll do better. Please don't quit on me.
Don't let your heart quit on you. Get your uncontrolled high blood pressure to a healthy range before it's too late.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined now by two senior offensive linemen. We got Austin Coleman and Jordan Schofield. Happy to have you guys back on the show.
Thanks for having us.
So looking back, obviously you guys came out with a 34-17 win, but looking just at the numbers, Ithaca actually did do a pretty decent job defensively on your offense. They held you a little closer to their defensive average than your offensive average. You guys did go out there and hit your average points per game, though. So, you guys averaged 34 points per game. That's exactly what you guys ended up getting. So, as far as the offensive battle between your offense and Ithaca's defense went, who would you say kind of won that battle overall? Start with Austin.
I still think we would say that our offense won. We did have some very explosive plays and scored more points than they did just outright, our offense, even without the defense and special teams. Although they did contribute big into the game. But they did a lot of stuff to, stop us up front. They did a lot of twisting on us. They did a lot of slanting. It was a little tough during the week preparing for them, as Schofield was out for a couple days there. So I was playing guard, and my backup, Matt Blair, was in at left tackle. So it took us, at least Jordan and I, a couple plays and a couple of series just to get comfortable again, having not practiced against their defense all week. But they came out prepared and had a good game plan, and it was tough on both sides of the ball.
Well, yeah, to go off of that, I'd say, we won over their defense. We passed the ball around what we usually do. We struggled in the run game, but like he said, they twisted and they blitzed an awful lot. And some plays we picked it up, and other plays we kind of struggled with it. But other than that, yeah, it was struggling to get the feel of the game, being out that week of practice. But We figured it out and we ended up getting the W.
All right, and as you mentioned, you guys did start off a little slowly, but then your defense comes up with that safety, gets 2 points on the board, and that's when you guys drive down and score your first touchdown. So, and then obviously later in the game, the special teams came up big with the block punt and scoring the touchdown there. So, when your defense and special teams goes out there and scores some points, does it take a little bit less off your shoulders? Do you guys feel a little bit of relief that they took care of a little bit of the scoring burden, and does it help motivate you guys a little bit?
Yeah, I would definitely say it helps motivate us. When the defense got a safety, we did go 3 and out there, or we got a first down and we went back to the sidelines. So it did help us in the beginning, because it's like, all right, now we're basically in an even game, but they were still up by a point, 3-2, because they had the field goal early on. But it did, when the special teams got the block punt, that was huge for us, because we were already ahead, I believe by 3 at that time.
By 10, actually.
Or by 10, and then it stretched it even farther, which it took a burden off us, because we started to slow down a little bit again. They started doing a little more changing up what they were doing to us, and we, once again, were having a little difficulty figuring them out. So it took a little burden off of us, but yet we're determined, and our coaches preach we have to come out every drive and expect to get 6. Coach Kramer, that's what field goals are great, but he always preaches, like, we want 6 every time we step out in the field. So that's still our goal, even though it is a burden off of us that the lead's extended now. We're just trying to cushion it and, wind down that clock a little bit. But in a sense, we're still looking for 6, and they did a pretty good job at holding us at bay. And but we did enough to get the win.
Right. Not only does it motivate us, but it takes the burden off our shoulders. Gives us a little motivation to go out there and finally put some points up on the board. After they got that safety, we started off struggling, but that gave us some motivation, a little pep in our step. We went out there and, like you said, we put up a touchdown right after that to take the lead. And then when they blocked the punt, it really took a lot off our shoulders, because we were only up by 10, you said? Mm-hmm. That really put the game away for us and held them at check.
All right, and so obviously big win this weekend, moved to 7-1. This upcoming weekend, senior day for you guys. So you guys both seniors. Is there any extra kind of emotions going through your head right now, preparing up to this senior week, knowing that this could potentially be your last game at Groundy Stadium?
You want that? You can have that one first.
All right. There's definitely a little extra knowing that this could be potentially our last game at Groundy Stadium. It's been 4 years now, and DJ actually brought that up in our last in his pregame speech, how we only have potentially six practices left in the rest of our lives, and that's pretty mind blowing. So there's definitely a little extra motivation to win this game and win out to potentially have a home playoff game. That way we can have at least one more game back in Groundy Stadium.
Yeah, like you said, I think it's going to be very emotional, especially in the beginning, because our parents are going to be down there with us. They're going to see us potentially play our last game at home, and it's going to be tough. Like, if we don't win out, and depending on what people do around us, we're not guaranteed anything beyond the next 2 games. And so at this point, we have to just put ourselves in the best opportunity to hopefully get another chance to play Groundy or play even more beyond the 2 games. So there's going to be pressure, like there always is. It's the umpire 8. There's pressure every day we come in to a game, but we just got to stay focused, worry about Hartwick, and then take care of them before we see what happens in our fate later on.
Yeah, and actually Jordan's wearing the shirt right now from you guys' freshman year. You guys made the NCAA tournament, went to the Elite Eight, and knowing when you get to the NCAA tournament, should you guys get there, you guys have to win each week to keep on playing. So do you think that adds a little bit, especially for the seniors, adds a little bit more motivation to know that we have to win this week, because I want to keep on putting on the pads and keep on coming out here with my guys?
Yeah, I think that it's definitely going to be more motivation, because you have to win each week to move on. But at the point in the E8, with how tough it is, and 1-2 losses, you're done. Their conferences, you could lose 2 losses and still be a champ. Every week we go in with knowing, like, we need to win this one if we want to move on later on. So I think mentally we're going to be, if we make it there and if we can play more than 2 games, we're going to, into the playoffs, we're going to think the same thing we do every week. We're going to stay focused and know that we have to take care of this one if we want another one. And we do it week in and week out.
Right, and our motivation all season has to be to make the playoffs. So, going off what he said, our focus every week has been the same. We take it one game at a time. So we're looking at Hartwick right now, and we have to get by them, and then Alfred, and then hopefully reach our goal to make the playoffs. And then once we make the playoffs, or if we make the playoffs, our focus doesn't change. We take it one team at a time, and that's how we do it.
All right. So, and you guys both being seniors, both obviously going to walk the stage in May. So you guys just want to go over kind of what your plans are for after graduation, career-wise, maybe?
Yeah. So I'm a double major in history and adolescent education. So I'm looking to be anywhere from a middle school to high school teacher, and then I also currently coach a little bit of wrestling in the winter, and hopefully we'll pick up football after I'm done playing football.
And I'm a sport management major. I have to do my internship here either in the spring or next summer, and hopefully get a job off of that. If not, I plan on going back to school for conservation to get my conservation degree, and later hopefully become a DEC agent or DEC officer. And then I'd even like to coach football later in life, so we'll see how that goes too.
All right, awesome. And then finally, we'll have to talk a little bit about the game next week. You guys obviously have Hartwick, and being offensive lineman, it should be your dream opponent. On average, they allow 218 rushing yards per game. So stark difference from Ithaca, who does a good job shutting down the run. So you think this is kind of a good game for you guys in your last home game to be able to go out there and emphasize pounding the rock against a team like Hartwick?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we've always had a pretty predominant run game against Hartwick in the last couple of years. Matt also threw the ball very well against him last year, so I think we're going to be balanced and try to be balanced like we always are. And I think that we have a little motivation going, obviously being senior week, and we got a lot of players we're looking forward to playing against this week from the previous years that give us some challenges than we like to deal with. So we're looking forward to it.
Going off of what he said, yeah, I mean, we only rushed for about 85 yards this past week. So we really like to get back to the run game, start striding, open up some holes for Tony, keep Matt clean, allow him to throw the ball. So knowing what they give up, we still have to stay focused and stay on track and do what we do. We can't just think that they're gonna come in here and roll over for us.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, and good luck the rest of the season.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that was the player side of things. Now let's hear from their coach. Offensive line coach Jim Cicchetti will be joining me after this break, so stay here.
It takes less than 1 minute to find out if you may have prediabetes. You can do it here. But I get it, you're busy, and busy people can't have prediabetes. I read that wrong. They can, okay? Just go to the site.
Welcome back to Fisher Football Focus, joined now by offensive line coach Jim Cicchetti. So happy to be back on, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
All right, so I just mentioned with you guys, I think I did play you guys pretty tough. Besides the long Kuhn touchdown, they kind of held you guys in check, didn't really let you guys break out too much for any sort of long plays like that. You guys really had to grind against them, but you guys still went out there and won by 3 scores. So overall, if you're going to assess the way your offense and specifically offensive line played throughout the game, what would that be?
Well, the thing was, we knew going into the game, Ithaca, they're very well coached. They may not be the most talented group that we face, but they're very well coached, and they do a lot of different schemes that they try to mess up, especially zone blocking. So, we knew that going in. We tried to work on it during the week. I don't know if we really were very successful. When you're only averaging 2.8 yards per carry, obviously, that kind of speaks for itself. So, something we definitely have to get better at, and I think our guys know that. We watched film on Sunday. Showed them where our breakdowns were, things we need to work on for going forward. We've got 2 more games, so I was a little disappointed, I guess.
Yeah, and talked a little bit during the highlights. You guys are 10-9 all time against Ithaca, so you guys are pretty close almost every time you guys play against them. So what is it specifically about what Ithaca does that always makes it such a close competitive game?
Well, the funny thing, as I said before, though, too, they're very well coached, and I think that has a lot to do with it because. You can see other teams that maybe, like I say, have more talent, but they're not as well coached, or they catch themselves out of positions and stuff. For a long time, Ithaca was kind of like they were the premier Division III team in the East. I mean, they've won 3 national championships, and so getting over the hump on them was back in 2004. We beat them in overtime. But it's always a competitive game. It has been the past, I would say, 3 years. There was a run there where from like around 2006 to around 2012, we beat them pretty handily. But the last 3 years, we were able to win the past 2 years. The year before that, we had 6 turnovers, and the year before that, we had 5 turnovers in the game. So, and they were one-score games. So, it's been a tough opponent.
So this Saturday, we just talked to a couple of your seniors at senior day. So you had 3 offensive linemen. You had Austin Jordan, then we also have Bill Ryan graduating after this season. So how much are you going to miss the guys that you're losing? These guys have been pretty consistently on your line for the past several years.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Austin, he's obviously the most senior guy I have on the team, obviously, because he started as a sophomore. And Billy Ryan has started for me for 2 years too. Unfortunately, he broke his leg last year, so he was my starting center. So he's got another year if he wants it. I don't know if he's decided. And of course, we're losing Jordan Schofield too. So you're talking about the whole left side of my line, and then the right guard. So it's going to be tough to replace those guys with the experience that they have. That's where recruiting comes in. We got some good younger kids that I think will come up and have to challenge for the job next year. But they're going to be definitely missed. We've had a lot of success. They've won a lot of football games, and I love coaching them. I mean, I love those guys. Like my own kids. They're great guys, and of course you're gonna miss them. I do yell a lot though too, so they're kind of used to that. But so are my kids, so it kind of works out. But I'm gonna definitely miss those guys.
All right. Actually, probably don't want me to say this on air, but they were a little happy that you weren't going to be on yelling at them with them on the segment.
Okay.
But
we do have fun sometimes too.
Sure.
So I'll yell.
So and going forward, you are going to have those spots to fill. What do you think about the young guys you have coming up? Because obviously you could have fill those 3 spots. So do you think that you've got a lot of capable guys who are going to fill in and not miss a step?
Yeah, I think so. You got some guys, and it always kind of happens that way. When you have a senior group, senior group related, team moving on or graduating. I think the thing is, there's some good young kids that I think they're going to have a whole nother spring, and then finish it this year and then spring, and then they'll have preseason next year. I think we'll be able to fill those spots and not have much of a drop off. I mean, it's going to be a little bit different, and I just I'm going to have to be more patient. I'm going to have to coach, and I have to it's all of my ability to help those guys be successful.
Does it make spring a little bit more important having to go out there and know you have a new unit and kind of open up the competition then? Yeah,
I mean, I'll have two returning starters coming back. So the 3 guys, they're getting reps now, like especially with they're in my top 2. But you can't really simulate games. So the fact of the matter is, so the more time you get to work with them, obviously in the springtime, we'll be able to get them. And even though we don't have pads on, it's just getting them work footwork and becoming smarter football players. I know people say, well, geez, how do you be a smarter football player? But it's just that whole idea of like being able to see things, being able to recognize things, and then making adjustments. And I think that comes with the more you practice and play.
All right, and finally, talk to you guys about Hartwick. They're a team that has been struggled a little bit defensively. They let up a lot of rushing yards, let up a lot of yards and points really total. So do you think this is a good game where obviously you guys had a tough, grinded out game against Ithaca, a good game to kind of bounce back and get back to your offense, putting up the big numbers that you've been used to all season?
Well, I think one of the things that we talked about just going into this game is that I know Hartwick gives up a lot of points, but the thing is their offense scores a lot of points. They can score in like one play. They're a very high-octane offense. They throw the ball vertical, like us, in a lot of ways. But their defense has struggled and stuff. So we know going in there, that's something we really have to go in there. We have to dominate, whether it be on the ground or in the air and stuff. They have to protect the quarterback, and we have to just be on the field as much as possible. Keep them off the field, us on the field. So if we can get that done, and I don't think we'll have problems moving the ball if we play to our potential. I think it should be a good game Saturday for us.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Coach. Good luck this upcoming weekend for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
That's all the time we have for this edition of Fisher Football Focus. Be sure to check back next week after the Cardinals take on the Hartwick College Hawks. For Cardinal Television, I'm James Bailey. Catch you next time.